So, hello everyone, a very warm good morning to all of you. Today at Tathastu ICS, we have a very esteemed personality amongst us, Mrs. Poonam Dalal Dahiya, ma'am. Can we have a big round of applause for ma'am? जैसे अभी आप सब लोग प्रिपेयर कर रहे हो, आप सबका एक ड्रीम है, उसी तरीके से मैम का भी एक ड्रीम था, पर बहुत सारे चैलेंजेस के बाद मैम ने अपना वो ड्रीम अचीव किया है और उनकी वो जर्नी जो है वो बहुत ही इंस्पायरिंग रही। तो आज मैम हमारे साथ अपनी वो इंस्पायरिंग जर्नी शेयर करेंगी। बट मैम ने जो जो भी चैलेंजेस आए ना, अपने हार्ड वर्क, अपने डेडिकेशन, अपने परसिवेरेंस से उस ड्रीम को अचीव किया। एंड नाउ शी इज़ एन IPS ऑफिसर पोस्टेड एज SP रेवाड़ी हरियाणा। ये तो सिर्फ एक ही अचीवमेंट है, उसके अलावा शी इज़ अ टीचर, शी हैज़ क्रैक्ड मल्टीपल बैंकिंग एग्जामिनेशन, स्टेट सिविल सर्विसेज एग्जामिनेशन। बट इसके बाद भी मैम ने जो जो एक थर्स्ट होता है ना टू ग्रो थ्रू आउट द लाइफ, वो कभी बंद नहीं हुआ। शी इज़ एन ऑथर। हम जैसे एस्पिरेंट के लिए जो यूजुअली हिस्ट्री में स्ट्रगल करते हैं कि हिस्ट्री ऑप्शनल कैसे पढ़ें, हिस्ट्री के कौन से सोर्सेज रेफर करेंगे हम अपनी जर्नी में, अपनी UPSC की जर्नी में। तो शी हैज़ रिटन 2 बुक्स विच इज़ एंशंट एंड मिडाइवल इंडिया एंड द सेकेंड वन इज़ मॉडर्न इंडिया। तो आज मैम हम सबके साथ हैं उन बुक्स के ऊपर और अपनी जो भी जर्नी रही है उस पर अपने वैल्यूएबल इंसाइट्स शेयर करने के लिए।
Morning. So this is a batch of general science students, general awareness, or it's like optional mix? It's a GS batch. Okay. How many of you have written the prelims earlier? Any one of you? Okay. Right. So how many of you are thinking of appearing in this 2024 prelims? Okay. Quite a few. And 2025? And 2026? Okay, so the 2026 people, you are in like the final year of graduation, or are graduation students? First year. Oh, it starts very early. Okay, so I think I'll make it a mixed session. I'll be speaking to you about some tips from my side, not only on history but of course on GS also, and then we can take 2-3 questions from you guys, whatever doubts you're having. I'm not posted as SP Riwari. I think there's some correction. I'm posted as SP Anti Corruption Bureau Gurugram right now. Having said that, let's start. How many of you feel that 16 to 18 hours of study is required for UPSC? Okay, only 2 girls, 1 boy. Okay. What about the others? How many hours of study we require? Yeah, good. How many? Who said 3 hours? No, I feel that initially, if your basics are very right, even 3 hours or 4 hours is good enough. But this is a misconception among students that 18 hours or 16 hours or 12 hours is required. Initially, of course, when you have to, if your basics are right. Now, let me start from the first thing. Right now, I'll be talking to you about GS and then I'll take it to the history section, right? How many of you have gone through the last year question papers? I would advise each one of you to go back home and check out the last year question papers. The journey should start from there, because once you go through the question paper, you'll be able to understand what is the pattern, how is the pattern changing over every year, what is being asked. Generally, you'll be able to. I would suggest that go for the last 5 years paper, last 5 years previous year question paper, and I would also suggest that try to solve at least 2 of them. I understand some student would say that why we have to solve it, because we don't know anything right now. We are just starting. But at the same time, it will make you understand that where exactly are you, what level you are having right now. Some may get out of 100. If you are good enough, I would say you may get 30, correct? But normally the ratio comes around to 10 to 20% only. But that's again, that's just to judge, that just to assess that where exactly are you standing, and from there also be aware of the cutoffs. Now, let me tell you, be any exam. I have cleared bank PO. I have cleared, multiple exams. In every exam, there's one golden rule that normally the cutoff. I'm speaking from a journal point of view, journal category student point of view. From the journal category, the cutoff never exceeds 60%. You take out any exam of UPSC, right? Banking, I'm still not because it was long time back. I'm not aware now what is the cutoff in banking, but in civil services, if you check out the cutoff for any year, be it prelims, be it mains, it never crosses 60. In fact, it varies between 55 to 60%. So once you are able to understand where exactly are you standing and what is the cutoff, this is the aspired cutoff should be 60%. So then you'll be able to figure out that where I'm lacking and what I need to do to improve it. The first thing is, please check out the last year question paper, because you need to understand what thing are you going to handle. Who is your adversary? The question paper is your adversary over here. So understand your adversary well, right? Second thing, how many of you have gone through the NCRTs? It's good to see that so many people have gone through. Whoever has not done this exercise, kindly do it. NCRTs are indispensable. So generally in today's era, people, the students especially go for shortcuts. Like they'll go for this some notes or something, and coaching material from different institutes or so. I think once you read, it is still, I'll advise that go for the NCRTs yourself. Go for the old NCRTs. Even the new one are good. So try to I would suggest that it's advisable to at least go through one set of NCRTs. Either you take old NCRTs, they are available in the market, or either you take new NCRTs. But at least complete one set of NCRTs from 6 to 12 standard. All subjects, like when I say all subjects, so social science and science subjects, of course, right? Science, I think you can still avoid 11th and 12th, biology and all. Till 10th is good enough. But I think history, polity, political science, these are all you should cover from the 11th and 12th part also. So once your basics are done, and once you are able to understand what the pattern of the exam is, I hope each one of you sitting here is aware that there are three stages: prelims, mains, and interview. What you must not be knowing is that preparation of every stage requires a different strategy altogether, and at the same time, all three stages, the preparation go together. It is not like that. Some people do the mistake that you'll try to focus everything on prelims, and then suddenly you clear prelims and then you are clueless about mains. So the preparation for pre-mains, and in fact for the interview also. Why interview? I can tell you, because there's an interest column in the interview section, in your DAF section. So over there you are going to write the interest. Now when you write an interest, the interest cannot be developed overnight or not suddenly after mains examinations, because I have been fortunate enough to take certain interviews or to sit in certain mock interviews for quite some time now. And I've seen that students who write down interest just for the sake of writing down, you can easily make out that that's not their interest. So even if some of you are not having any interest, try to develop or cultivate once from today only. Let's say journaling, and please have your individual interest. Don't copy the people interest, because when it's reflecting, there was one student I met just last week, and I was asking him, he came for a mock interview, and last year he also appeared for the interview. And I was having an interaction with him, and he told me, I said, what went wrong? We got a very poor score, around 120-ish last time. And he told me, ma'am, I actually copied the hobby of my friend. And the whole discussion around 10 to 12 minutes was on that hobby, and I was not able to answer any question. So the board is able to make through that this is not your genuine hobby, and then it is a question, then it raises a doubt on your intellectual honesty, because ultimately they are looking for a administrator who is honest and upright. So if you are not intellectually honest, then I guess they could make out that this person is not going to be suitable for the civil services. So please think about the hobby, please think about the interest, and please develop it, please cultivate it, and please work on it. Whatever interest you want to take, I cannot dictate you what your interest could be. Having said that, Now, once you have done through the NCRTs, when you have gone through the basic papers, try to make a schedule. People who are aspiring to go through this year, 2024, I think now to there's nothing to talk about just other than this thing, that try to go for mock test because prelims is just round the corner. People who are having 1 year with them, 2025, I would say break down your whole year, make a planner, break down your whole year into, what, where are you lacking, what are your weak areas, and then make a monthly planner of at least 6 months. Now, when I say monthly planner, it's very basic. It's just like not that you keep on wasting 2 3 days on just planning. Very basic that, let's say you are having polity to cover, history to cover, uh, you know geography to cover, and you know that you have to anyhow basically cover all these subjects. Now take out a month, let's say starting from April I'll cover geography and history. Then again next month I'll be covering polity and whatever. If you're not able to complete in the first month, then obviously that will shift down to the next month. So try to have a broad overview. What are you going to cover in the monthly schedule? Which month are you going to cover? And last 6 months, kindly keep it last 6 months, or at least 4 months. You need to keep it only for the mock test for prelims, because nowadays prelims is a big game changer, and it has always been like that. I always feel that it is one of the most toughest stage of the exam, because normally the filtering out of the candidates happens at prelim stage. After that, after out of 6 7 lakh student, only around 12 to 13,000 are selected out of prelims. So I think this is the biggest filtration thing, and it is one where actually journally students do the mistake. So once you're pre through, then I think it's out of 12,000, it's very focused approach then. But for prelims, of course, it's a very extensive studies you have to do. So last 4 months, keep it only for the mock test, so that you are able to just go through the only prelims. You are just in the prelims mode. Other 8 months, be in a total prelims, mains, and interview mode to prepare everything. Now, when I say prepare everything, nowadays newspaper is very important. I hope each one of you is reading a newspaper. So they are also have Rajendra Nagar. When you go across the market, there are people who are just taking these capsules of newspaper. That shortcuts thing that you get a whole gist of the newspaper. I strongly recommend against it, because once you read the newspaper, the idea of reading anything is that it needs to develop in your mind also, that thinking process. Once you're reading an article, so you'll be able to understand that what are the contours of that article, in what context it is being asked, what more can be asked, right? So reading in newspaper is again an art, and it's also very specific. Prelims wise, you have to read a newspaper from a very different point of view, mains wise from a different point of view, and interview wise totally different point of view. So for example, I think I was going through the newspaper just while I was traveling to here. Today there was a 2 3 headlines were there, and one of I think after these, one was about some murder, some adopted, Indian Express I'm talking about. So as a UPSC aspirant, you should not be concerned about what has happened. Murder, okay, fine, that's none of your concern. Then basically shift from prelims. Let's say GDP data has been released. Now GDP data is an important thing from your point of view, both from the prelims and mains. How GDP has been varying, what is the criteria, what exactly is GDP. So once you read an article, this is again, I think, reading newspaper. If anybody who is religiously reading newspaper, then I strongly feel that is the only key to crack UPSC now. About 80% to 80 to 85% of the exam is coming from newspaper. So even in the mains question, if you check out, the issues have been in the newspaper. It's just you have to have an eye for it. And gradually when you read newspaper, so initially when you start newspaper, you may take around 2 to 3 years, because the newspaper is like, it is indispensable. So don't go for the headlines, go for the depth, go for the substance, right? So reading newspaper is again a thing. I think somebody who is not reading, kindly start it. Take any one newspaper right now since you are starting. In interview, we were always advised to go for 2 newspaper at least. But I think now, since most of you are starting, go for one newspaper. Go through it, and try to also make important notes in the sense that at least write down that what topics are, because you will not be remembering the topics after around prelims. So try to uh, something funny here, you can tell me, you can also have a laugh. And please understand that I'm not wasting time here. I just came specially, and if I'm guiding you, then I think you must be gaining something out, right? Now, where was I just forgot. Newspaper. So, kindly make, at least jot down the important headlines, important topics, what is being asked, so that at least when you're going to go for your mains and your register is there, you can at least check out from it what are the important topics which have been done in the last 1 year, and whether if I'm ready for the any kind of mains question on it, or even in the prelims segment, you can have a quickly brush up on that, right? Now, got your basics right, you got the news, you are reading newspaper every day. Another important tip from my side, which generally students do the mistake, that someday they'll study for 10 hours or 6 hours or 8 hours, and then for 2 3 days they are just lost because they are just struggling with the coaching. They're coming, they're going, and then they're thinking that today I'm very tired. And this has happened with each one of us. What I'm sharing with you is with from my own experience, because this is, we all are human beings, we do particularly the same mistakes every time around. Now, just understand, no matter how much hard we have to push for it, at least try to do 2 hours. At least, if let's say advisable is, initially I would say 6 hours is minimum required. At least 6 hours of self study. And this when I'm saying self study, that is apart from your coaching. So coaching, let's say if you're investing 4 hours, then 6 hours, and I think after 24 hours, this is not much. So 6 hours every day you should invest. Now, let's say there may be circumstances sometimes beyond your control when you're not able to, but try to at least cover, at least go through the newspaper that day, or at least 2 hours still should be scheduled, right? In my last attempt, I was 9 months pregnant when I gave my prelims, and in my mains, I think my son was born, and it was just 2 months, and I was almost on bed rest. So I could barely get, and I was in active policing all throughout. So I could barely get around, 2 3 hours. But I think since I had already earlier attempts also, I got into railways and all, but I didn't join it. But I was actually aware of the pattern of the exam, and what my basics were clear, so I could survive with 2 3 hours. But having said that, that has to be consistent. Consistence and persistence is the key, right? If you're not consistent, then trust me, initially when you start, you'll all be very even in the coaching institute, you'll see this pattern, that there'll be a full classroom, there'll be a struggle for seats, there'll be a fight for seats, people will come 15 minutes before, they'll book the seats, and gradually after 2 3 months there'll be, though they've paid for the entire coaching fees, there'll be students who will be feeling, oh, why to go to coaching for 2 hours, I can check out the notes of my neighbor and I can do the same in half an hour. Such a wastage of time. And generally, so you need to understand that when a topic is being taught in the class, I always advise that the thing is just not restricted to that topic only. There's a discussion going on. Your mind is simultaneously thinking and analyzing things, so that thinking ability is developed. So kindly not try to miss classes, though it will look a lot appealing after a few days, that I can borrow my notes of my friend, and half, and it is anyhow a good deal that half an hour I'll do and 1.5 hour will be saved. But ultimately, you won't realize that in the long run, you are missing out the thinking ability. You're missing out on certain other aspect. Maybe a discussion has happened and you have missed out on discussion, and the notes are not always describing everything which is happening in the class, right? Again, another advice from me. So, time management is another thing. When you're making a schedule for your monthly, try to then break down the month into a week and kindly audit your day. Very simple process. Initially, in the morning, try to plan for the day, that this is what I'm supposed to do this day. And then in the night before sleeping, whenever you are calling it a day, at least audit what you were you able to achieve. Have you planned too much? Let's say in the morning you are very enthusiastic, you're thinking I'll complete 4 chapters, and you're not able to do only one. then at least the next day you can plan accordingly. So there's a very famous saying that if you're failing to plan, you're planning to fail. So kindly, just check this thing. And this is a very simple 5 minutes exercise. I don't know why students generally don't indulge in that, but it's reaps. You can reap a lot of dividend from that. Right now, these are certain tips for the GS point of view. Prelims, there's no another thing, another one advice from my side, that when I told you that prelims and mains has to go on together, then the moment you complete a topic, kindly go through the last year question papers again from the same topic. Right? At least in my book, I have ensured that there are, after a chapter, there are particular questions from the same topic from the last year exam, and also practice questions. So whatever book you are following, whatever topic you are following, be it polity, be it geography, whatever topic you have done, kindly make it a habit to assess yourself on the same topic, so that you are able to understand that where you are still lacking. Sometimes you have read a topic, and maybe if you have done the last year question papers, you'll understand that I'm not able to solve even a single question. So what's the point of being happy about doing the topic? Also, you'll be able to understand and appreciate that what kind of questions are being asked. Maybe you have read about revolt of 1857, but the question was pertaining to revolt of 1857, but it required a much deeper depth. Right? They asked you particularly from this area, this was there, and what was the reason for his revolt. Right? So maybe you've just memorized the area and the person, and you forgot to memorize the reason. So then you can again go back to the same topic at the same time. It will save you a lot more time. Once you, generally students do the mistake, they do a topic and then they'll feel that once history is completely covered, then I'll go back to the last year question papers. I strongly advise against it. Do it simultaneously. It's just 10 minutes task. Once you have completed a topic, maximum there will be like 7 to 8 questions from the last year question paper, except Buddhism and Jainism, which is one of the favorite topic among the UPSC. So there, but then again, there's a lot of repetition of questions. So once you go through the question, you'll be much more confident and much more comfortable. Right? Having said that, also at the same time, try to go through the mains question paper. Mains question, what is being asked from the same topic, and try to start writing about it. So initially, many people do the mistake that let pre happen, and then I'm going to check the mains. I'm going to start answer writing only once my pre I'm getting qualified, and then within pre and mains, there's only a time of around 2 to 3 months, and then that's not enough time. And nowadays, being 20 question being asked in one GS paper one, and you have to simultaneously write. So even you're not able to complete the paper at number of times when you know the answers, and within the time limit, within the word limit. Sometimes you go overboard without writing practice. You write, instead of 200, you write 300 words or 250 words. And sometimes you're just clueless where to start, because without practice, you are just clueless. So I'll always advise, try to do 6 to 7 questions from the prelims point of view, and at least one question from the mains point of view once you complete a topic. Right? Hobby, I think I already mentioned. Now coming to history, specifically history. History, I would say that there are certain topics. I think in my newest edition, I have also mentioned, and it is what I am talking about. Even history is also relevant for polity and geography, right? So whenever you're starting any let's say any subject, try to understand from this subject which topics the questions are coming, and which topics the questions are coming more frequently from which chapter. Like history, Buddhism and Jainism is one of the favorite topic of UP. Every year, at least 1 or 2 questions from this topic. So now, let's say once you start the journey, you'll be able to understand that this is where, this. So I think I have made a bar chart also in the book. You can check it out, where I've portrayed that from this chapter, this many questions have come in the last year, this one. And kindly do the same exercise for at least you can do it on your own mentally, that, last 10 years, there are analysis of, I think in market, every 10 years it's there. So in last 10 years, you can at least figure out that, these are the questions coming from these topics, so that at least in your mind, you are aware that you have to do anyhow the complete book. But at least these topics I have to double lay my focus on. right? Second thing about history, generally people feel that history is really boring, and it's just like mundane, and what's the point of it? In mains examination, or be it any, first of all, I can only tell about my book, because then again, like, I cannot comment about what other people have done, but this is one review which I've received over the years from the students across, that the book has been written in a very interesting and very, story kind of way. This, because history, I always felt it was more like a story, like, this king came, then this happened, then this happened, and once you read a thing more like a story, you'll be able to remember it. Other than that, that when you are going for just a mundane thing, that this thing, and also try to relate the development. Like, for example, even in the current affairs thing, history can be important. How? Just recently, Raisana dialogue happened. Anybody is aware? What is Raisana dialogue? Can anybody tell me? Only foreign ministers come? Only ministers come? Ministry of External Affairs does it alone? Now I tell you that when you read a topic, I asked about Raisana dialogue. Raisana dialogue is a geopolitical and geoeconomic meet conducted by Ministry of External Affairs every year along with Observer Research Foundation, right? Now, this year, who was the chief guest? Anybody can tell me? You all are reading newspaper, and this is just a matter of 7 days before. Greece. Sorry? Yeah, Greek Prime Minister was there. So Greece was our chief guest for this year. Now, let's say you're prepared. Now, what will come in the UPSC? It will ask you about India-Greece relations. It can also ask you about how has been our historical ties. Now, once you read history, so you have to actually check. So your history knowledge is also, so once you start an answer, instead of just telling about, this is our trade basket, this is this, you can start from the historical ties. Like, since 4th BCE, we are having historical ties with Greece. When Alexander came to our country, right? So understand that whenever you're reading history, don't think it is just like, just history specific. It can be utilized in current affairs. It can be utilized even in international relations, because with each country, even in our subcontinents, we are having traditional ties with Sri Lanka since immemorial times. Even with East Asian countries, we are having trade since, so long. So once you are attempting a question, now check out a student who is just written about, just 2, 3, 4 points, and a student on the other side who has gone through the historical ties and of course then come up with the current ties. And while I was discussing about Raisana, that's what I want you to point it out. Maybe few of you would have gone through the Raisana dialogue, then go into the depth, why this dialogue has happened. Because when I ask questions right now in mock interviews, I normally do it at Vajiram and Ravi. So there, the last week I was asking questions about, like, why is there any other forum like Raisana dialogue? Is only foreign ministers? Because it's not just foreign ministers. Many other political leaders, many other economists, many other civil organizations also participate in it. Now, is there any other forum? Just before that, Munich Security Conference happened. Then there's Shangri-La dialogue, which happened in Singapore. Are you getting me? So the question can go, the basic will start from Raisana dialogue. But whatever is being posed to you in the UPSC can go from here to there. Even the mains, they can ask you, what is the importance of such forums? How foreign policy, because our honorable foreign minister stated a lot of things about it. He gave certain statements about Russia-Ukraine crisis. He told that Russia is being cornered. The world has actually put it in a corner. Then the question may come from Russia, Ukraine, that what is our stand? Then Israel, Hamas, he clearly gave 5 points. So that is what your foreign policy is, our foreign policy is. So you should be aware. Again, at the cost of repetition, I'm telling you, this is all newspaper. And from newspaper, you'll be able to identify from where the things will go there. Right? Now, coming back to history, I think I've already given you that tip that whenever you do complete a topic, kindly go to the last year questions and try to figure out if you're not getting them right. Why you're not getting them right? Is it And sometimes it is also there that sometimes not everything you'll find in just in the book. Sometimes it's indirect knowledge. Maybe the question you are thinking is coming from question chapter 4, but actually it has got a linkage with chapter 8. Right? So do understand that. In history, I think another thing which I feel that try to present the information at least in your mind, make a mind map or a flow chart about it, which dynasty came, and also the linkages, because when something was happening in the north, we are often clueless. While you are reading ncrt, it will clear your basics, but then it doesn't show the linkages. So what was happening in north, you won't be aware that time, that what was happening in the south, which dynasty was there, what they having linkages along with south, what they having linkages with the outer world, right? So try to form these linkages once you read history, because that will help you understand history in a much more holistic way, right? I think in both books, Asian and Medieval India and Modern, is has anybody gone through my books over here? Okay, you've got. Have you gone through the book? Okay. No, I don't want to see the PDF. But which till which chapter have you gone through? Acha, Buddhism and Jainism. But have you gone through the last maps which I've given in the back? Okay. So you're having the old edition. So I think you can anybody who has not gone through the book, I can strongly advise for the maps, because even if you check out the reviews on Amazon, and these are not done by me, over the years these are done by the students, and the charts which are there at the end, it actually shows you that continuity, how the thing started, how the linkages were there. Yeah. So kindly go through the map, and kindly, and also make a map in your mind, because in the exam you'll not be getting the maps out there. You have to do it on your own. And once you're writing an answer on history, especially, I would say try to link it with the past and of course with the future. And that goes without saying, with even every mains question there has to be introduction. And no matter how provocative the question is, that that are we going into recession, let's say I'm taking a hypothetical thing, it's a negative statement, but at the end of the day you have to be positive, you have to be optimist. So you have to end on the, you have to always end your answer on a positive note. The conclusion has to be positive, because no matter how pathetic the situation is, we are having poverty, we are having so many other challenges, but the administrator cannot be cannot be gloomy that no, the world is ending and this can nothing can happen. You need to always end the answer. So be it history, be it polity, or be it anything, you have to at least tell, and you also have to give logic that why you are ending it on such, but always be optimist about it, right? I think Asian and medieval topics you can check out from the book. They are different topics. Buddhism and Jainism is one, bhakti movement is another one, which is important topic. Then of course other than that, I think in modern India, I would say that one thing which I have also read spectrum all throughout, because when I was preparing, I was not an author, I was just preparing. Now what advantage I had, that I have written the book both as a student and as a teacher myself, because I know what was missing in spectrum. What was missing in spectrum, because nowadays the need of the hour is that in mains the analysis has to be there. If there was a Renaissance movement in India in 19th century, that was it a religious movement? The questions won't come to you that tell what is Ishwar did, Vidyasagar did, or what this Ramohan Rai did. No, that is a very factual thing that they would test you in prelims if they want to. Right? Abolition of sati, they'll test you there. Now in mains, they'll ask you, was the 19th century Renaissance movement, was it a religious movement, or was it just under the influence of Western education? Now there, the analysis would come. There you need to go for the analysis. There you cannot write a simple, that these thinkers, and then you'll be clueless. Whatever book I read, this was all about this did this, this did it. Where's the analysis? And that's what I found missing in the books, especially while writing modern India. Asian and medieval, it's still like, 2-3 things are analytical, but most of the things is still factual. But in modern, a lot of scope is there for this. what has been the contribution of INA, oh, this Indian National Army, and then did it really contribute, and was it a, then did the British actually, when did the nationalism, when did the feeling of nationalism came to our mind? So these things you won't find in any book. This I can assure you from experience. I'm telling you. So you can check it out again. I'm not here much for this thing. All I can tell you as a veteran myself, that analysis is the key. So whatever book you're reading, try to go for the analysis, and this you can only understand when you have gone through the last year question. What is being asked? They're not asking anything factual in mains. They're going to ask you analytical, and for that you have to have that analytical understanding. For that, you, of course, the analytical understanding will only come from the factual knowledge, but of course the facts is a base of it. Now the second layer is of analysis, right? Having said that, I think I'll wrap up my session, whatever I want to talk to you about regarding history and GS. Now I think we can take some questions if anybody is having any. Yeah, please.
गुड आफ्टरनून मैम.
Yeah, please tell me your name.
मैम राजा भैया.
Sorry?
राजा भैया.
Okay, Raja, बताइए.
मैम, what has motivated you to become a civil servant?
I think, please sit down. So I think it's more, I think journey along my own. And of course, I think everybody who is born in India is somehow influenced at some stage with civil services. When I started at 23, I think I have been a primary school teacher initially at the age of 20 or so. And then I went into banking. I was clueless at the age of 23, 24 about UPSC. I used to feel that there was nobody to guide. I think guidance was important thing. Though you want to be, you always are fascinated by this DC, SP thing. But you are often clueless what to do. Nowadays, there's a lot of YouTube and all. I'm talking about back in, my time. So, though you are fascinated, but you were still clueless, how to prepare it and how to do anything about it. So I think along the way, when I was clearing exams, gradually I felt that okay, and I belong to general category. So I think I remember at the age of 28, I gave my first UPSC prelims, and I started preparing at the age of 27. So just a year before, and that too also because I was thinking anyhow I'm general category. So that time 4 attempts used to be get for general category, and I used to I felt that anyhow I'm missing on attempts. Like anyhow my 1 attempt is getting anyhow wasted due to age. Now I'm only having 3 attempts. So let's see, let's try it out. And I also did in my first attempt. I can tell that in first attempt, since there was nobody to guide, and I think I was in Chandigarh, posted in Chandigarh at that time in State Bank of India. So we just went to a coaching institute, just randomly, anybody asking randomly which is a good coaching institute, like all of the students do. And I also was having that kind of feeling that, that pre is important. And since there was, I always say guidance is very important. So whatever I've told you in this half an hour, I wish somebody would have told me at the age of 23. So when I gave my first, I was so focused, and that time there were 2 optionals. And even in the prelims, there was an optional. So sociology I took, and sociology was not my subject, but everybody told that you take sociology, it's a good subject. I said, okay. So I focused so much of energy in prelims without realizing that, mains is the next, prelims is anyhow qualifying. And I did so much hard work on sociology that my prelims were getting qualified only on the basis of sociology. So out of 100, I got 92 correct in sociology. So that was optional, prelims, optional 92, like you're through. So that was a thing. But I think what I couldn't realize at that time, that it's just a prelims. After that, I took my second optional, public administration. But that I took after prelims. So that was only 2 months. Now I have to prepare an entire subject. So that's the first thing I think I told you guys, that don't take it in silos. You have to take mains. And though I cleared it in first attempt also. But my main score was where I just cleared it just on the edge, and normally you don't know it unless and until after once the mark sheet comes. I got a very good score in my interview. In my first attempt, I got 208. But anyhow, I got railways and I didn't join it. So but I mean to tell that had I worked on mains along with my prelims, because 92 ho ya matlab 45 ho, qualifying hona chahiye na. So the thing is that had I focused on mains, it would have been a better attempt for me. Then guidance. Yeah. See, you don't have to remember every fact, right? Like for example, if even if you're talking to a kid, let's say standard wise. Like for example, when you started as a grade 1 student, you were expected to know about your name, your classroom, that's it, or maybe the president of India. Gradually, when you shifted to grade 6 or 7, then you were expected to know that what are fundamental rights are being taught to you. So you're expected to know what are fundamental rights, and these are 6 major. Now, once you're coming to UPSC, so you have to know what each article in Constitution is. So you also need to understand in UPSC that what to study is important, but what not to study is equally important. So normally what the students do, you need to also make a threshold that what exactly is required for me to study, what facts. Like for example, let's take the Raisana dialogue, since we had a conversation about it. For that, you need to understand what is Raisana dialogue, since when it is happening, what are the similar forums, what have been the key outcomes of this. That's it. Other than that, you can keep on googling everything. Who was a president in last year? Who was a chief guest last year? No need. So you have to draw a line what is required and what is not, and this you will only understand gradually. Now that's thing will happen with you in everything, even in polity articles will happen. So the key is that I always tell people, what mistake students do is that they'll take 4 books, and once they complete one book, they'll go to switch on to the second book of modern India or maybe history. Then they go to third one. The key is take one book. Select your source. I'm not saying go for my book. I'm saying go for any book. But choose it wisely. Once you have chosen it, then go for repeated 4 or 5 revision of that book. So much so, like if you remember from our school time, especially in the board exams, we were used to remember even in the exam that, this thing is coming from this side of the page. I'm not able to remember, but it was on this side and this side paragraph. Are you getting it? Hi, how are you? I'm good.
I'm very welcome.
Thank you. Long
Please.
time, huh?
A long time.
So that's what I was just taking the question answers. So the key is to choose a source wisely. First of all, use your energy. You take 1 week to choose a source, but once you have chosen it, then kindly stick to it, have trust in it, and then go on repeating the source at least 4 times. And then I think this problem will be solved, because human brain is again having a limited retention capacity. Don't dodge it with facts every day. And same goes for mains. Once you are, especially the Rajendra Nagar people, since there are so many books, so many, once you are going back to home, you'll feel, oh, new book is there. And then you also find your partner sitting, the student sitting next to you, oh, he's reading a new book. My God, I'll miss something. So in prelims, you need to understand, especially this happens, that you need to understand that you are not here to secure 100 marks. You have to be able to understand that I have to, qualify. And not even prelims, even in mains. You need to understand this much I can retain. What you people do mistake that you go for n number of sources, and then you are just, and on the day of the exam, you are just flustered. So please choose your sources wisely. Don't get tempted by what he is studying. कि वो एक क्वेश्चन, हमारा एफर्ट क्या रहता है प्रीलिम्स में भी, कि वो जो एक क्वेश्चन जो किसी ने कर दिया, वो यूनिक क्वेश्चन जो किसी ने नहीं किया, वो मुझे करना है. क्यों करना है? Right? So that is the thing. Yeah. Anybody else? Sorry? Hey, I wanted to know your name.
My name is
Oh, Neha.
ब्राइट साइड तो सबको ही जानता है आईपीएस ऑफिसर, बट मैम मुझे मतलब ऐसे चैलेंजेस जानने हैं कि व्हाट आर द चैलेंजेस एज बीन एन आईपीएस ऑफिसर.
It's everyday challenging. That I can tell you. So the challenges are like, sometimes I feel when you are thinking individual, the challenge even starts that whether you are the orders you have given for the arrest of an accused. I can tell from my own experience that whether the orders which you have given for the accused are these right orders, because you are in policing. The major thing is that you are restraining a person's freedom, other than any other job. In revenue, in administration, the maximum you can, you open an inquiry. So the moment you take a decision in police or that person is arrested, that person life goes for a toss. So even I feel not even we are responsible. One should be responsible towards a victim. One should be also responsible towards the accused. That's what I feel. This is one challenge: how to understand and identify whether whatever decision I'm taking in this case, is it the right one. So this, you are always constantly facing this dilemma. Now farmers protest are happening, so you are administratively you have to do whatever the law demands you to do, but maybe you don't want to use any tear shell or anything else. So that is again another dilemma. But again, you have to go by the constitution is the key. The constitution tells us that we have to reasonable force you have to apply. So again, these are different things. Even the rape cases, sometimes even the age of consent thing. If anybody has gone through the POSCO cases, 16 to 18, boy and girl elope. उसका friend आया, उसके friend ने उसको बस उसने अपने friend से बोला कि मेरे को स्कूटर भी दे दो, बस मैं इसको मुझे जाना है रेलवे स्टेशन तक. उसने स्कूटर दे दिया. कायदे से he is a complicit in that crime, and the saza is 7 to 8 years for that man. Now the boy is running in front, is crying in front of me कि मैम मैंने तो सिर्फ स्कूटर दिया था दोस्ती में. But the law is law, and then you cannot take the plea that he or she is not aware. Then 16 to 18, mostly it is consensual. Then the girl in pressure, she claims that she is minor, and when somebody is minor, she is minor. So no matter, even there has been a discussion going in newspapers that if somebody is minor, no matter he or she doesn't consent.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. So even if the girl is saying, "Ma'am, I went on my own will, and I've gone this man on my own will," but the man has to be arrested immediately. So these are very troubling decisions. But then again, we have to follow the law.
मैम आपने बहुत सही बच्चों को, खास करके लड़कों को.
No, this I normally, when I go to any village, I normally tell, because people are not aware. And in POSCO cases, it's so stringent act. 8 years, no bail for about 2-3 years though. The whole youth is wasted. And even here, I think in Rajendra Nagar, people are generally in rival relationship, and I don't judge about it, and we should not also. But at the same time, the relationship goes so, the boys move ahead with another girl. The girl is still in dreams with the same guy. He files a complaint that he misused me. He raped me on the pretext of marriage. The boy is saying, "Ma'am, it was a mutual breakup, or even I cannot have a right to break up." Now again, these are very our society is transitioning, so these things happen. But these things do make you think that, of course, I always agree that it should be equally applicable to both the sexes. But then,
ma'am, boys have the right to break up. Well, I was just having a little doubt, so.
No, I feel everybody. But then.
No. I accept that.
Why girls have all the fun?
No. Jokes apart, both have the right.
But then, please do understand that legally, if she complains,
yes,
then you cannot take that plea. So of course, the women world, guys. So.
As you can see.
Yeah, please.
Ask.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yeah, please.
Ma'am, as you have talked about challenges, my question to you, despite being so busy, how did you get the time to write a book? Because I am here in a preparation, but at the same time, I want to do a lot of things. I have a lot of hobbies, but I also want to clear it in the first attempt. So there is always a dilemma.
Yeah, so this is what is prioritizing is. So when I wrote my first book, I was on maternity leave. So as I told you, my son was born, and just immediately after that, my notes were being followed by many students, and I got an offer from McGraw Hill. If you could like to write a book, and I said, why not? Anyhow, I'm sitting at home only. And I remember because, so that is first thing. That's the reason the second book took around 6 years to come. Modern India, because of my profession and all. And sometimes when you're passionate about certain thing, because I personally felt that there was nobody to mentor or guide me at the age of 23. So somehow this is again, you have to find your purpose. And sometimes I feel that this thing is very close to my heart, and I'm also touch wood good at it. I feel so.
Ma'am, yes,
I'm
you are.
confident. So
No, ma'am,
Tanu
you
and
are.
me, we
You
were both
are.
at Drishti. I
Yes,
think we were
yes,
in mock
yes.
interviews at Drishti. And
We took together,
yeah,
ma'am.
we took together. We took together the mock interviews of the students out there. And I think now, once you have find a passion for something, you will find a time for it. That's the reason modern India, I think I felt it took a lot of time because I was not able to work it just continuously as compared to Asian and medieval India. So that's the thing. And I think where there's, I always believe where there's a will, there's a way. But having said that, coming to your hobbies thing, since you said that you're having too many hobbies, I think it's also important that at the time of your preparation, especially the first year, because first year nobody knows what is happening. You're on a roller coaster ride. You always every day you're feeling 24 hours is less because मैंने जो coaching का है मैं वही पूरा नहीं कर पा रही हूँ तो self study क्या करूँ मैं? So try to restrict your hobby to at least one or two. Don't go for too many hobbies. First year focus more on the academy. This making your base. Because once you are going through the 5 वो 6-7 तो किताबें हैं जो आपने पढ़नी है. Optional of course is another thing. But then you go through the option and books. Then second year it's a easy thing because now you have gone through the books at least twice. Now it is now you know what to study, and after an attempt you are a veteran yourself, that you understand it how this exam is going to impact you, right? I think we can take one more question.
Mobocracy?
Sleeping.
No, this is how I trained you.
I think you can have any hobby, but normally if you're asking me from UPSC point of view, then it will not be considered an advisable hobby for the UPSC point of view. Reason being that sleeping is not a hobby, actually it is a task. So it's like you normally you're so that somehow also whenever we are discussing about hobby, it tells about a person's character also, right? So kindly think about it. It's not a hobby, it's a task which you do. Yeah.
There
I
was
think one
someone-
at the last, and I think then we'll wrap up. Yeah, please. Okay.
Must be what we clear, like lots of in Rajendra Nagar, lots of senior students tell me you have to clear first GS, then optional. It's a little bit confusing. Like I'm a new student, I'm third year now in college, still college.
Okay.
So that's why I'm little bit confused.
So optional, I think there may be many people, seniors out there who will tell you that कि sociology ले लो, इस साल sociology बहुत अच्छा चल रहा है. And there'll be some people will say कि PCR ले लो, PCR. Now what I have been going through, I've been coming to this Pajiram for the months, and I've seen that PSIR for the last 2 years, many number of students are coming from PSIR. But having said that, ये situation एक बार PubEd की थी. और उसके बाद PubEd को इतने बुरी तरह गिराया था UPSC ने because of their scaling and all. So you need to understand हर subject से हर साल बच्चे select होते हैं. There is no such thing as favorite subject or good subject, because it may be a trend. Sometimes it may be that this subject is doing good, but then ऐसा ना हो कि आपने आज लिया है और 2 साल से बहुत अच्छा result आ रहा है, तीसरे साल UPSC ने intentionally उसने देगा. UPSC also, people are sitting out there, they're intelligent people. They also check out which subject is getting such kind of thing, and they don't want to have a herd mentality about that subject. So what they'll do, they may do a lot of strict scaling in that subject, और पता चले आप शिकार हो गए क्योंकि आपने आंसर तो पूरे अच्छे लिखे, बट स्केलिंग की वजह से आपके नंबर ड्रास्टिकली कम आ गए. So the key is that choose a subject which you feel you are interested in, which at least you are able to understand, and which actually interests you. You can have a discussion about. You can check out the last year prelims, and prelims तो आता नहीं है optional में, but mains paper आप देखिए उठा के, and you can find out that yes, इसमें मैं लिख सकता हूँ, या इसका मुझे कुछ तो पता है, या मैं पढ़ूंगा तो मुझे इंटरेस्ट आ रहा है, right? Because I can tell you that there are many subjects which students take and then they are not able to do justice to the subject because they are not in love or they don't even like the subject. जब आप किसी चीज को पसंद ही नहीं करते तो no matter how much hard you try, you'll not be able to write good answers. So there is no key for a good subject or a bad subject. The key is you. You have to choose a subject. Choose a subject and then choose a subject which is close to you, which you feel that I'm comfortable with. There are other factors which you can take into account. You know, after let's say you have closed in 2-3 subjects that कि ठीक है मुझे social ठीक लग रहा है, मुझे philosophy ठीक लग रहा है, मुझे pub ठीक लग रहा है. Then you make it then go to the last year papers and then try to think about it, and again go for then other issues like, you know, which coaching is available. Nearby coaching भी होनी चाहिए ना, because normally अभी I'm seeing many of the engineering students, the IIT guys are not taking engineering subjects. And normally I always advise, now going through these interviews for quite so long now, I feel that, you know, generally if I see a DAF in which the subject one has studied in the graduation is the same as one has taken as optional, it of course enhances another 5-10 marks. Because you feel that, you know, he has not switched over. But again, having said that, that is not the only criteria. तो अगर आपका ग्रेजुएशन का सब्जेक्ट वो है जो आपने जो आपको अच्छा भी लग रहा है, जो यूपीएससी में भी है, तो अगर आपको लगता है कि यार ये सब्जेक्ट, तो पहले प्रेफरेंस आपको उसी को देनी चाहिए. दिस इज माय एडवाइस. बट अगर लेट्स से देयर ग्रेजुएशन में आपका एनी सब्जेक्ट व्हिच यू डोंट लाइक एंड देन यू हैव टू you know, choose a second one, then settle for something which interests you, in which you can write beautiful answer, and only when you are able to understand the subject तभी आप आंसर भी लिख पाएंगे. Right? I think we can wrap it up because this can go on.
Absolutely, ma'am. I can see, you know, students are still inquisitive कि कुछ ना कुछ पूछ ले. But thank you so much, ma'am. है ना,